Yeah, I mean, in one sense, the game has been we've built the game. We've paid for it already in some senses, but we would love to do more marketing of the game. So any more donations really would help us in that sense, and we would love to get it translated into more languages as well. That's sort of one of the other big projects. So.
Well, hello and welcome to the Church Office podcast. My name is Gavin Smith, and it's a joy to welcome you today to our Admin and Ops podcast. We love talking about the work of ministry behind the scenes, and I know we get pastors listening, we get church admin and ops listening, and we get a whole bunch of people who are serving in lots of different ministries and teams, all kind of serving in the background, whether it's kids ministry and various other things. So thank you so much for listening to the podcast and for engaging with our content. We're really, really grateful. My special guest today is Andy Geers. You may recognize him. He's been on our podcast before. Andy, welcome to the podcast, mate.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's great to have him back. And before we jump into our conversation, Andy's been developing a whole new game, and I really want to get this on the podcast and promote it. It's fantastic, and tech and faith are so important subjects for our kids, and so wanted to have a little chat about that. So before we jump into that, let me tell you about Church Suite, and thank you to Gavin and the team at Church Suite who sponsor the podcast and have kindly supported the church office and the ministry that we're seeking to do to support churches in this whole area of ministry behind the scenes. They are a fantastic supporter. Gavin's product at Church Suite is just amazing. If you've not heard of it, then please go and check it out at churchsuite.com. It's way more than a database. There is so much you can do. You can manage your rotas, your teams, your child check-in. It helps with small groups, communication. There's training available. There's a whole bunch of things that you can do in flows and workflows. They're always updating it. His heart is to serve leaders. His heart is to serve churches to be better equipped in this whole ministry of, kind of organization behind the scenes. And so a big shout out to them, and thank you for supporting the podcast. Please go and check that out. Andy, before we jump into your most recent project, our listeners might remember you were launching and involved in running PrayerMate, and which is, again, a fantastic bit of tech to serve people in prayer and to connect different ministries and all of that. Mate, give us an update on that before we jump in. How's that going?
Yeah. I mean, it's been really exciting, actually. So for those of you who don't know, PrayerMate is an app that ultimately for an individual to help them pray day in, day out. But it can also help you pray for your churches, for other Christian ministries and things like that. So we've just been working for the last couple of years on a completely new version of the app that may not look radically different to the end user, but it's completely new, sort of behind the scenes. And in particular, it's much better now at syncing your data between, if you've got different devices. And also, which means if you're in a church small group as well, you'll be able to have a little shared list where you can all share requests and pray for each other. We're just sort of beginning to do a little public beta of that new version and hoping to roll that out in the coming months. But should hopefully be a lot more robust and better for people.
Yeah, and I use PrayerMate, and it's just such a helpful tool to kind of list all the things that you've got going on in your head, all the things that you want to be praying for, and then it just feeds things in, doesn't it, on a daily basis of things. And mate, you are such a gift to the church in bringing kind of technology and apps to serve people and to serve churches, mate. It's a wonderful heart, and I'm so thrilled to have you on the podcast. Mate, dazzle me with some stats about PrayerMate, because, as administrators and managers, we love the stats of downloads and prayers. You've probably got this on a program somewhere.
Well, I'm trying to be disciplined and not checking the downloads too often, because in some ways it can be a bit of a vanity metric, but it's around 670,000 downloads now, which is just amazing to think about it, really. We have about 30,000 active users every month. And the stat that always just encourages me the most is obviously I have no idea what people are praying for through the app, but we do kind of measure when you swipe past a card how many things people are praying for, and it's between them collectively the community is praying for well over 1.5 million things every month. So
Wow. Isn't that
It just
remarkable?
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just amazing to think what is God doing in answer to all those
Yeah,
prayers.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's really encouraging.
And just how amazing it is that God listens to our prayers and hears our
Mm,
prayers. You know, you're capturing something there of data, but it is remarkable. What an amazing God we serve, who
mm,
is just, yeah, a wonderful Father. And we give thanks for Christ and all that He has
mm,
done for us, and allowing us to be part of, being adopted into God's family, and Him being our Father, and what that means significantly for us as we
mm,
pray and ask for help. And yeah, just wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, mate. It's I love just looking back at previous lists of things that you prayed for and just seeing God
mm.
answer them, and you just don't remember all these things if you're not using some sort of
No,
text,
no,
some sort of
absolutely.
notebook. You lose track of it, and you're like, wow, God has just answered
Yeah,
so much, and
yeah,
He's so good to us.
yeah.
I love that. So moving on, mate, to your newest project,
Mm,
the Serpent and the Seed. Um, we were saying off the podcast, this has been a 20-year dream that you've been doing.
yeah,
Fill our listeners in who's never heard
yeah.
of this. What is this new
Yeah,
project?
yeah. So the Serpent and Seed is a mobile adventure game, um, which basically gives you walks you through the big story of the whole Bible, so from Genesis to Revelation. So it's a really kind of chilled, relaxing experience. You start in the Garden of Eden, you meet Adam, help him name some animals,
Yeah,
and then it goes from there. And basically, we wanted to build something that someone who is not familiar with the Bible story would be happy to play and engage with. It's it's not trying to feel like a really boring kind of Sunday school lesson or something. Hopefully
yeah,
it's a really emotionally engaging experience. And
yeah,
the aim is really you kind of feel the joy and wonder of the Garden of Eden. It's really fun. It's all these little animals you can interact with, and but then when Adam and Eve eat the fruit and they're kicked out of the garden, you really kind of feel that kind of
yeah.
gut punch of like it's being ripped away from you. And
That
we've
brokenness of the world,
yeah,
and yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
And so it's yeah, and we've had really wonderful feedback from people so far who've played it, and it definitely seems to have struck a chord with people.
yeah. It's great, and it's available now, isn't it, on
Mm,
Google Play and the App Store, and I've downloaded it this week and have been playing along with it, and mate, this is quite a task to walk through Genesis all the way through to Revelation, to tell the story and to do it in an engaging way, and you were saying to me that it isn't just targeting kids, actually adults have played it and have benefited from it. Um,
mm.
Tell me a little bit more about that. Like, what's the kind of, there is some reading in it, isn't it, as you go through? So the best age group in mind for this in terms of
Yeah, yeah. So we've been
kids?
saying 9 plus. I mean, partly there are some like moments of mild peril, like a crucifixion.
Yeah,
Not to give any spoilers, but
yeah,
and there is a little bit of reading involved. But we've definitely seen younger players like really enjoy it with a parent or a grandparent sitting alongside them.
yeah,
Had some lovely photos of my old assistant pastor at my church playing it with his nephews and nieces, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but yeah, absolutely. I mean, ultimately, I'm trying to build the kind of game that I would enjoy. So
yeah,
we've had plenty of adults say, it's definitely not just for kids. It's simple enough for kids, but I think there's
yeah,
it's profound enough for an adult. And
yeah,
there's particularly the where we've worked with some incredible musicians called Paul Bishop Hooper in the US,
yeah,
and some people know them for doing a project called Every Psalm, where they spent 3 years. Every single week, they released a new song,
wow,
working through all 150 psalms.
wow,
Um, and so they really specialize in writing songs based on the scriptures,
yeah,
and they're not afraid of those slightly grittier passages. And
yeah,
so they've the game is sort of structured around 4 chapters. So
mhm,
the Garden of Eden and the Fall is chapter 1. Chapter 2 is basically the rest of the Old Testament, and then
yeah,
chapter 3 and 4 we kind of bring it together in Jesus. But they've written a song for each of those 4 chapters based on the words of the Bible, and yeah, they're really quite powerful in like drawing you in and
yeah.
helping you kind of really feel the emotions of the passage.
Yeah, the music is excellent. It really
Mm,
is excellent. But then your graphics and what you've produced on there
mm,
are lovely and really engaging.
mm.
Is that stuff that's come out of your head and or have you worked with a designer to
Yeah, no, I mean
pull
it's
that
been
together?
a real team effort, and we've collaborated with a team of about 10 in total. So obviously there's some musicians. We had a coder, a game designer who was a fantastic sort of story. Really, he was a game designer for some like big name AAA studios. Then
Right,
he went to theological college,
right.
became a missionary for a while, and now he's been freelancing back in the UK for many years. But so just a really amazing kind of combination of skills and a real kind of godsend. And
Yeah, yeah.
so he helped us figure out what you actually do. And then we had a concept artist who he was a part-time youth worker and had studied game art and design at university. He sort of took what the game designer produced and sort of made it a bit more concrete and
Yeah,
what should Adam and Eve actually look like, what should the layout of the garden be.
yeah.
And we had an artist, somebody else, uh, a lady called Sophie Killingly has done some beautiful lettering for different,
Mm,
anytime there's a kind of a promise from God, it's sort of,
yeah.
she's done that beautifully. And yeah, other coders and people with all sorts of niche skills that have just helped make it really shine. And yeah, I think the results are definitely far greater than any of us could have done on our own.
Yeah, yeah, that collaboration and people with their skills and passions and bringing them to bear into something like this is wonderful. And you must be individually so proud and pleased that something you dreamed about 20 years ago is actually it's in the market, isn't it? It's there for tangible for people to start to engage and use. And
Yeah, I mean, it's
what a
just
joy that is.
definitely a real answer to many years of praying, really. So yeah, I kind of got the idea 20 years ago when I was a ministry trainee down in Cornwall, and I grew up playing games. I grew up in a Christian home, and to
Yeah,
me it was really natural. I thought, a game felt like a great way to make the Bible accessible to people who, you don't necessarily even need to be that excited about the Bible, but if it's a good game, if
yeah,
it's engaging, you can, there's all sorts of games that are really good at telling stories. And so yeah, I invested quite a lot of time and effort and money into trying to pursue that idea. It didn't really go anywhere, and it's almost that frustration at that PrayerMate
yeah,
got created, and PrayerMate really kind of very quickly took off and started growing, and through that was able to found the discipleship tech charity and
yeah,
was full time on PrayerMate for many years, and then just yeah, in God's good timing, it felt like the right moment to revisit the game. Um, and so it's taken us about just over 4 years of active development on this particular project.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, it's really wonderful to see people engaging with it. And for me, one of the most exciting things was we took it to a couple of secular games conferences. So one called Pocket Gamer and one called the London Games Festival.
yeah,
And this was sort of pre-release, but to see, I had no idea really how a non-Christian would react to it, but that had very much been the premise from the beginning, that
yeah,
I wanted to build something that wasn't just for Christians, but
yeah,
was for people who don't read the Bible. And
yeah,
so it was really important to me that we did test it with people. And
yeah.
yeah, we just had such lovely comments. One person said, I never expected a game to make me cry. Somebody else just sort of was absolutely gushing about
Yeah,
how peaceful it was. Really, I think they could
yeah,
recognize something otherworldly, I suppose, in what we built.
yeah. I love that. We had a guy from our church who went along to this gaming thing in London that you mentioned there, Andy, and he came back saying, "I played this game, this Christian game. The Serpent The Seed. You'd love it. You got to promote it. You got to find out more about it." And I was like, "Dave, I already know it, mate. I already know this guy. I already know Andy. He's already, just doing some brilliant stuff with tech." And but he just said, yeah, people just really engaged with it in what was a
Mm,
secular conference and an opportunity to just have your game on display to get some feedback. He just said it was an amazing day and he'd
mm,
love to see it up there. And so yeah, mate, so well done for getting it.
thank you.
How challenging it is to take something like this, to create it, to have all the different elements of it, to be so good and it for it to be get such good feedback already.
Yeah. Well, we definitely couldn't have done
in
it
its early days.
without the Lord's help, and that Psalm 127 has been very like front of mind all through it. Really, unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labour in vain,
Yeah,
and so many ways along the journey we've seen God at work, and I suppose I've often said it at times it felt less like we were sort of trying to invent this new thing and more like archaeologists trying to sort of uncover
yeah, yeah,
this thing that was already there. And I suppose especially because it is God's story that we're trying to tell.
yeah,
It's not an original, narrative in some ways,
yeah,
but
yeah,
trying to trying to be careful and intentional about how we adapted that into a video game format so that you didn't end up distorting the message in the process.
yeah,
I think there's a lot of like David and Goliath games, and they're all about like they're often sort of you've got a slingshot and you have to aim perfectly
yeah,
and time it just right so you can kill Goliath. And
yeah.
my son played one of those, and he came away saying, "I killed Goliath first time. Or, I'm amazing." And it's like I'm not pretty sure that that is very much at odds with like the purpose of the David and Goliath narrative in the Bible. So it was a real challenge to try and integrate the story into the
Yes.
gameplay in a way that where the gameplay reinforced what the Bible was trying to say
Yeah,
rather than working against it.
yeah. And Andy, I just love your heart, your missional heart in this as well, isn't it? That you want people to who are unbelievers to play this game and engage with the gospel and just a wonderful story of the gospel
Mm.
um, through the app, through the game, is brilliant. And you were sharing with me just some wonderfully wonderful things, just of how some groups of parents have been using it themselves, and little kind of task groups, feedback groups, and just the impact that had on them as well,
Mm.
engaging with it. Share
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little
yeah.
bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that's been a real joy and privilege actually, is to meet with some other dads from my kids' primary school. So guys that I've been trying to get to know over the last however many years, particularly 4 or 5 years since the pandemic.
Mm,
A lot of them started working from home at that point, so we'd be at the school gates in a way they weren't before. And I've had occasional opportunities to meet up with it. I took two of them individually for a curry and just sort of started chatting about faith. And
yeah.
said to one of them, "Have you ever read the Bible as an adult?" He said, "No." I said, "Would you be interested in reading the Bible?" And he said, "No, I don't think I would." Um, but
Yeah.
but we've had the opportunity through this game. We've been sort of slightly in collaboration with the Bible Society. They said, could we do like a little proof of concept of a kind of what they would call a Bible engagement
Yeah.
group or
Yeah.
community? So we've got these three dads, and we've met over 3 weeks where they've played a bit of the game at home, and then we've met up to chat about
Mm,
it.
mm,
It's been really valuable for me as a sort of feedback. They've all said, "Oh, I got stuck at this bit," or "Really like this bit." So some practical feedback, but then we've also sort of looked at some of the Bible passages. Like every week, we've looked at two Bible passages that drive that particular bit of the game,
yeah.
and then we chatted about that. And I think they found it really interesting. None of them are particularly familiar with the Bible. Um, I think I think they all came away thinking, they've learnt stuff that they didn't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
they've obviously been thinking about it through the week. So it's been really, I hope they've enjoyed it as much as I've enjoyed it, because
Yeah.
I've certainly loved it. And
Yeah.
um, yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been a real joy actually. And we would, I think the Bible Society will meet in a week or two to sort of feedback how it's gone. But I think they're very open to trying to replicate that with other churches, to do some little pilots of whether this could, be used elsewhere with similar success,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. And it's right, isn't it? And the game's available, and churches that are listening in to this, what a great opportunity for, you're talking about kind of people who've never read the Bible, and through the Quiet Revival and the Bible Society report, people are happy, aren't they, to engage a lot more, or
Mm,
looking to engage a lot more, and having a format like this in a game that's faithful to the scripture, that tells the story of the gospel. We pray, don't we, that God will use it to open up kids and parents and anyone who picks up the game can hear the gospel and be changed. And So, mate, this is what a great tool it is to put into the hands, and my heart to get you on the podcast is to say, right, let's promote it, let's get it out there. And if you're a church administrator or manager listening to this, people in your church, the different ministry leads that are always looking for really good resources that they can plug into homes and to kids and to families, into new believer courses. You are best positioned to promote this, and so please get behind this. Please download it, have a play on it, have a look at it. If you need any more information about it, you can get in contact with Andy, or you can get in contact with us. Questions at thechurchoffice.co.uk. We would love to link you up. But do consider this as a resource to signpost people to, that was really, really going to serve. Andy, I know you've raised money through online giving and crowdfunding, and people have done a brilliant job getting behind that. Is there anything else that we can do to support you and this kind of, the launch of this game?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, as you've said, definitely number one is just spread the word. We would love people to tell people. I mean, it's a completely free game. Just search for the Serpent and the Seed on Google Play or the App Store. Tell your friends. And if you have played it and enjoyed it, we'd love you to leave a review, because then that helps
Yes.
build sort of credibility with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in one sense, we've built the game. We've paid for it already in some senses, but we would love to do more marketing of the game. So, any more donations really would help us in that sense, and we would love to get it translated into more languages as well. That's sort of one of the other
Yeah.
big projects. So, at the moment that should be relatively straightforward, because it's mainly text based as a game.
Yeah.
So that's one of the sort of future projects on the radar. So if you know anyone who is a native speaker of other languages and wants to volunteer to help us in that, do get in touch.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be
Um,
a great opportunity to do something like that, wouldn't it? Yeah, to serve you in
yeah.
that way. So yeah, if you
I mean,
are aware.
that's been one of the really encouraging things, is seeing the list of which countries it's been downloaded, and
Yeah.
obviously the top two or three are probably the ones you can guess, but all sorts of countries, like places where it's really hard to be a missionary
Yeah.
or even be a Christian, like people have downloaded the Serpent and the Seed. So that's really exciting. So I would love to get the game into people's native language, to support them in that. And then, yeah, I mean, if any churches did want to sort of get involved in running a little sort of pilot of using the game, whether it's with your youth group, we'd love to develop some resources around running a short course with your youth group, or whether
Yeah.
it's with adults like I've been doing with these dads.
Yeah.
We'd love you to get in touch if that's something that you're excited about. And yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, there we are. We've got an invitation and a number of things that we can take away and support this ministry and support this game. And Andy, you've done an amazing job, and I'm grateful for the charity for discipleship tech that exists, that's thinking about this, that's looking at ways that we can engage people. And this is a brilliant tool. So let the church office going to promote this, and an opportunity for you to engage. As Andy said, there's ways that we can pray, we can donate, we can help with a whole bunch of, can we provide some support in languages and stuff like that. Well, let's take this seriously and think of commit to a way that we can go and get behind this ministry. Andy, mate, thanks for jumping on the
Oh,
podcast. It's good
thanks
to
for
have
having me.
you. And I know you're moving up to Scotland, moving out of London, out to
Mm.
Scotland. When's all of that happening and taking place?
In August, yeah,
Okay.
mid-August. So got a few commitments first, but yeah, definitely my flat is increasingly full of cardboard boxes at the moment.
Great. And you were telling me about a Kingdom Code and some event that you've got coming up. Do you want to just do a little promo for that? Because there must be people who would be listening to this going, "Oh, I'd love to
Yeah,
connect with a group of
yeah, definitely.
techies." And yeah, people who just love this whole side of coding.
Definitely, yeah. So having sort of built PrayerMate, I thought, I've really enjoyed combining my technology skills with my faith, and I thought there must be other people out there like that. So I helped set up a little group called Kingdom Code, and for the last, well, it must be coming up to 10 years now, we've run an annual hackathon event in October, getting sort of up to 100 Christian techies together in a room, with some great Christian ministries, to, we get into teams, we kind of build quick prototypes to sort of try and solve their real life problems, basically. So we're currently got one planned. I'm just get my wall planner. I think it's the 10th to the 12th of October is
Brilliant.
when we're currently planning to do it in London. So if you're interested in that, go to kingdomcode.org.uk and you can get on our mailing list.
Brilliant. Love that. Brilliant. Andy, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and we'll be tracking and following your progress, mate. And yeah, thank you so much for being on here and giving us your time. It's great. Excellent. Well, yeah, if you've got any questions, if there's anything that the church office can do to support you in your work of ministry, then please get in contact with the church office. We'd love to be able to support you. One of the things that we've been doing lots of recently is something we call the back office review. And if your church is in need of a kind of an outside review on a bit of an audit on how well you're doing in your structures, processes, policy, that might be something that you might be interested in finding out a little bit more about. So please do get in contact with us, info@thechurchoffice.co.uk, to find out more about our services and the way that we might be able to support you in your church. Well, thank you for listening to the podcast today, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.